think the reason we got to 100 was because of how we started at 0. You had a tremendous couple of guys, Clyde and his father W.B., unbelievable foundation that they built, incredible integrity and commitment to both the business and the community, and that's why it's carried on, I think, is because of the beginnings.
My grandfather grew up in Caledonia. In his later years, he taught school there. That's what he really did when I say grew up. But he spent his early years in Ohio and Indiana. But he was the superintendent of schools, which was a superintendent of about 25 people probably in that time in Caledonia.
The work ethic has always been really strong at the yard, I think, and it certainly started with my grandfather, who was just a wonderful, wonderful human being. I never knew my great-grandfather, but my grandfather was at the yard from the time the company was 6 weeks old until he was 90, which is just a remarkable, remarkable life.
I remember my grandfather being really respected by a lot of people, with great, for a grandson or son to be in a community, in a school, at church, wherever, having people comment about how much they respect your parent or grandparent. It's a wonderful thing. And Clyde was that way.
Just a very fun, caring person. He could get along in any crowd of people, in any setting. Just something I always thought was pretty neat.
More people would come in the office and talk about things that my dad had been responsible for in their lives all my life. He tried to live up to the reputation that he had, and I also said there's no way I could no more fill his shoes than I could fly, but and I'm not much of a flyer. So
my grandfather was the most influential person in my life, along with my mother. And I know that he influenced a lot of lives. When I remember a very specific instance working in the yard when I was one of the first 2 or 3 summers. I couldn't drive, so I was 14, 15 years old. Having a guy come in, older guy, Grandpa's age, and telling me that during the Depression and during some really tough times, that he would give him coal, because that's what obviously he had back then, and he'd give him lumber. The guy told me that he may not have made it at all, certainly financially, if he hadn't been that way. And I observed over the years the willingness of this family, and my grandfather in particular, and Bob, to grant people credit when there was a risk that they might not be able to pay it back.
Trust is one of the things that our business is built on. We've always been very generous in the extension of credit to people, and that was my dad's absolute and my grandfather's absolute belief.